Right.
Hey, Solange, thank you so much for coming in.
My
Sit with
pleasure.
Scottsdale Living and chat a little bit.
Yes.
You know the format, like the people are over there, I'm over here,
Okay.
so we're good.
Okay.
So today we're talking about a lot of stuff going on in the city. So we're going general plan.
Yes.
First one, hopefully we get passed. It's all a mail-in ballot, right?
It's an all-mail-in election, and it's general plan 2035.
Yeah. So where does the 2035 come from? I mean,
Oh,
because
that is it's a 10-year plan, so it'll be,
Okay.
Yeah.
okay, so there's some math there that
Yeah.
fits into it. Okay. So a mail-in vote. I think I saw that my ballot might come in today, or they're on their way
The
out.
ballots should be in the mailboxes soon, and I really, I want to touch on, people are confused between development that they've seen happen
Yeah.
versus what does 2035, is it going to continue that development, or how
Sure.
does it protect Scottsdale?
Yeah, so obviously you got Greenbelt 88, which is a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the plan, which we haven't had one since 2001,
2001.
and it just continues to rock and roll. But so how does it fit together?
Well, I'll just say that the citizens in the city hall weren't aligned, and so we weren't
Right.
able to pass a general plan. But we are firmly aligned this time.
Yeah.
This general plan was written by the city council members with hundreds of residents over a 6-month period.
Sure.
In addition to the commissioners, we had representatives from each board and commission on
Mhm.
it. But that's just the administrative stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
The key is what are we doing about development? And I'll roll back a little bit to 2018 when I was elected real quick. When I was elected, 2019, development proposals were like drinking out of a fire hose.
Mhm.
And I don't second guess any of my predecessors' decisions, and their priorities were we're trying to make the best Scottsdale. But development was coming fast and furious, tall and dense,
Mhm.
and everywhere. And I immediately was able to raise the bar on development, because many of our quality developers, even though they could squeak by with that 4-3
Sure.
or that 5-2, they wanted my vote.
Right.
And that speaks volumes about some of the development teams in Scottsdale. But to earn my vote, we made a lot of changes.
Sure.
So I just want to talk about the baseline, because people see development proposals getting approved and they don't realize the differences.
Mhm.
So one of the conditions that I immediately put into place, voluntarily of course, was that that the developers come to me and bring me public open space.
Sure.
Because if you're getting upzoning, what is the public benefit?
Sure.
So you take something like Museum Square, 30% public open space, and
Mhm.
it's perpetually protected. We don't like holes in the ground.
Mhm.
So we instituted, I was able to get our attorneys to institute reverse zoning. You don't start your job in 5 years, the zoning reverses.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and we required green infrastructure or green construction codes.
Mhm.
And what does that do? That again sounds administrative. It means that these projects use less water, they produce less urban heat, they have more trees, they provide solar energy.
Sure.
So it makes these small decisions that sound boring
Yeah.
have completely raised the bar on development. And of course, since 2021, the new council,
Mhm.
we have a tiny fraction of development projects moving forward,
Right.
because we've raised the bar where only the developers who really deserve to build in Scottsdale
Sure.
are coming forward.
Mhm.
And that's where we want to be. But what happens when we have a new council that might have a different viewpoint? We feel that our priorities with development are very aligned with the Scottsdale residents.
Sure.
So what we did was, and we had to do it anyway, we wrote a general plan to memorialize as much as we could in a general
Sure.
plan. There's wiggle restrictions. We put in the general plan all these criteria so that no matter who's on council, that bar remains very high.
So can you so help me understand a little bit? So general plan is not law, right?
It's a vision statement required by the state government
Right.
that sets the priorities,
Mm-hmm.
and then those priorities we take. For instance, we kind of like to see downtown a little more western again,
Sure.
and less high rises.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we prioritize that in the general plan. Then the next step is we go to the character area plan for
Mhm.
downtown, and we're already working on that. So we make changes that kind of
Sure.
we're legally looking to see if we can reverse bonus heights that were
Yeah.
approved in 2018.
Which would be fantastic, actually.
That would
yeah.
be fantastic. And then following that, we change ordinances.
Sure.
And those are the laws
Mhm.
that define what a developer can and cannot do, and we've already changed a lot of ordinances.
I love it. So the council and the mayor look at this as the general plan as kind of a blueprint for how to move forward for the next 15 years till 2035, and then they revamp it. So that gives you the guidelines. So when a
Yes.
developer comes to you and says, I want to do this, if it doesn't fit in with the general plan, it just doesn't happen.
That's a real easy way to save tax dollars and
Sure.
save developer dollars.
Okay.
Because we say, try another city.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, so it kind of gives you the outline, so when they want to come in and put a 36-story condo right on the river, it's like, okay, we're
Without
not
any
gonna do that.
setbacks, no open space, and no pedestrian freeway, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, cool. So, a lot of uproar going on right now. I don't know how we touch on this, but Greenbelt 88, the city plan, how does that fit together?
Okay, guys, if these projects bother you, I strongly urge you to vote yes on the general plan 2035. Let me explain why. These developments are very high-density projects.
Right.
They are a huge step above what they started at.
Mhm.
Architecturally, Greenbelt 88 is beautiful.
Right.
But for the location, if it was on a different corner, somewhere in a different location, but for that very residential area, the density is too high. I have worked for 8 or 9 months directly with the constituents most impacted,
Mhm.
and we just were not able to get the developer to move that needle
Sure.
to a place where the community felt it fit in.
So, a lot of the feedback has just been the traffic density. I mean,
Traffic
it would
and
go
the
through the
number
roof,
of
right?
apartments,
Yeah.
and truly, the project had a lot of merit minus
Sure.
the height and the density. So once again, I told the developer, you can come forward,
Right.
you haven't earned my vote,
Mhm.
or you can go back to the community. I'll work with you.
Mhm.
Start with each community, and we already know, we know what they want.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I think now the development community's realizing,
They can't just push it through anymore. It's not.
yeah.
It's,
So I think we're going to see some improvement. The shopping center could stay as is. We
Sure.
don't have to ever approve zoning, but we'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
what the community wants.
So a lot of the biggest one is the change in height, right? So I mean, I think it went from something like 12 feet to 48 feet.
Yeah, so it's 4 stories, which
Yeah.
is a little tall for that location.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that kind of leads into, and I haven't had a chance to go through the whole general plan, but a huge issue in Scottsdale is affordable housing.
Yes.
So how is that addressed in the general plan? Is that on the horizon? How
Yes,
do we fix that?
we do prioritize some kind of workforce housing, and I believe the mayor is going to set up a workforce housing group.
Oh, cool.
And
Okay.
so that brings that brings actually 9,400 of Shea.
Right.
That project also does not have my support yet,
Mhm.
but again, what are we negotiating for today that we never negotiated for before? One of the things that we're asking, first of all, I don't like to give handouts.
Sure.
That says to a nurse, you're something lower.
Yeah.
That, Americans work hard,
Yeah, yeah,
and they just
absolutely.
want to be able to pay to be able to afford to live near their jobs.
Mhm.
So the 9,400 Shea project, that developer was working with me to give local discounts,
Mhm.
and that benefits all of us.
Sure.
Because that says if you want to work and live near each other, you are reducing the air pollution in
Sure.
this region. You're reducing traffic.
Mhm.
You're making for healthier.
So that's not a subsidy. That's a discount if you live locally.
Just a discount saying
Mhm.
local employees, local professionals, you can live here. And it was, there's a lot of beautiful things about that project.
Sure.
You can walk to the grocery store, you can walk to the Greenbelt, you can walk to work.
Yeah, yeah.
That
It's
is
beautiful.
good for community. And really, walking scores in cities follow, property values follow walking
Of course.
scores.
Yeah.
So
Makes total sense.
unfortunately, our bar is set pretty high.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that project is very much tied with another project, and the combined projects are very aggressive, 500 plus units
Wow.
on an intersection.
And that's at Shea and Scottsdale Road right there, right?
Shea and 92nd.
92nd, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're getting there. So affordable housing, I prefer to say, let's incentivize, if developers want that change in zoning
Mhm.
from commercial office, which we don't need as much
Right.
in residential, let's find ways to solve other problems,
Sure.
like workforce housing.
So crazy side question though, but being in real estate, with COVID and in the virtual workforce and everything
Yes.
that's happened, has the city council or the city as a whole thought of all of the commercial real estate that we have that may never be filled again? Can it be repurposed? I mean, you used to have call centers in up and down, you know, the 101 right here that had 20, 30,000 people that are sitting there with nobody in it.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting. So I've had a lot of discussions with different business owners about what is next.
Right.
So we're looking at that. Is that an opportunity to add a little more residential on top where there would have been office with the office on the bottom? I have some hoteliers strongly suggested that the city doesn't own it, but that we work with the owners of the Galleria.
Sure.
Could that be a convention center? Scottsdale doesn't have a convention center. So I think we're getting very creative.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And we need creative ideas, right?
And you know, when you stay home, not only can you do the laundry while you work, but you save on air quality,
Oh,
you
of course.
reduce
Emissions,
greenhouse
the whole deal,
gases.
yeah.
And it's good to work sometimes together
Sure.
and sometimes at home. So this is one of the few silver linings of what we've gone through.
Sure. So I'm going to throw you a little curveball. We can
Okay.
skip it if you're not ready for it. But does the general plan address short-term rentals?
Okay, great question. No. So,
Okay.
so folks, if you want short-term rentals fixed, we need your help at the legislature.
Yeah.
So what the legislature did is they passed the law that does not allow the city
To mandate it,
to
right?
zone out some
Right.
short-term. Also, it doesn't allow us to treat a short-term rental, which is a hotel,
Yeah.
different from a long-term rental.
Mhm.
So a short-term rental costs taxpayers more. We have police, we have
Sure.
more garbage, and there's more services. But any fee we charge the short-term rental owner, we have to charge the long-term rental.
Sure.
But the 4,000 plus short-term rentals, if we can solve that problem, that will have a huge input. Will have a huge impact on the housing for our workforce. You see, that is really what drained away much of the affordability in
Yeah,
the city.
of course. Yeah.
So we're looking at ways, even without the state restoring our rightful ability to zone.
Sure.
We're looking at ways that we can encourage some of these short-term rentals to be long-term rentals so that teachers, firemen,
Sure.
and everybody else have more choices.
So, I mean, and again, you don't know the answer, I'm sure, but I mean, just the thought process, why would the state possibly take that away from cities to make those decisions? I mean, that just seems crazy.
So the state has been on a bit of a roll where they are preempting city governments from
Gotcha.
making the very laws that we are elected. Our job is to protect communities.
Sure.
We know our neighborhoods, the state doesn't.
Right.
And yet they're applying the same laws on Kingman as Scottsdale,
Sure.
Bisbee, and Phoenix.
Which makes no sense.
It makes no sense. I think the goal was to allow mom and pops or grandmas or whoever to rent a room, and that was a
Right.
great idea, and we support that wholeheartedly.
Sure.
You want to rent your second casita, your second house, or your casita.
Well, it wasn't meant to be a party spot, you know what I mean? That's kind of what it created in a lot of situations.
And we have corporations, international corporations, buying out entire communities and turning them into hotels. And we are not getting our taxes.
Right.
We have no resources from the state to identify. We're using your taxes, my
Sure.
taxes, to even identify these hotels so that at least we can collect the correct taxes. So, you know, there's a lot in the society where people feel like they have to stay right rather than do right.
Yeah, of course.
And I just have to believe that this is happening a little at the state government. All they have to do is say, we had the best intentions.
Sure.
But look at what we've done to Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, Sedona, and many others.
Yeah,
Gilbert.
absolutely. Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah.
So let's hop around a little bit.
Okay.
Let's go. So if my understanding is correct me if I'm wrong, but with the Central Arizona Water Project, we're at a tier 0 for the Colorado River flow,
Yes.
but it's looking like that might soon be a tier 1. But I guess tier 1 doesn't really affect us much, but what's the game plan there? Because obviously it's becoming an issue, right?
It is an issue. Can I just talk about apartments again?
Yeah,
Do
let's
I
go.
seem like I'm
Absolutely.
in a little bit of a rut?
Yeah, go.
So I
I
just
love
want
it.
to say, look, I know people don't want apartments, and that's
Right.
fine. But when it comes to water usage, apartments are great.
Sure.
70% of Scottsdale's water usage is outdoor water. So that's water evaporating from my pool, grass.
Yeah.
Okay. So apartments put everybody in one building, they share a pool and they share a yard.
Sure.
So from a water perspective, that's pretty good. So our job is to tackle the 70% of water that is being used outside.
Yeah.
And our job is to recycle the indoor water better.
Sure.
Right now, our indoor water is recycled, and it goes 3 places. It's reused, it goes into the ground for later
groundwater,
use.
sure.
It gets used on some golf courses and some other parks. A little bit goes to making beer, because we make drinking water quality. And then we use it to 40% of our treated water is used to generate power at the Palo Verde nuclear power plant.
Oh, wow, okay.
40%.
Wow.
So power is water.
Right.
So we want to plant a lot of trees, and we want to pass these construction codes that create cooler buildings so people have less ACs on, reduce their power bills, and reduce the water usage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's one area. We also want to be able, we've developed a lot in the southern part of the city. Right now, we don't have the pumping capacity to get that water to our treatment plant in the north.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we'll be putting in pumps
Oh, cool.
so we can recycle more water. We have meters. Is this more than you wanted to know?
No, totally. I love it. So water's a big one to me, because I mean, that's one of the biggest questions people moving here from out of state are like, are you going to run out of water? You know?
Yeah. We're working very hard. So right now, if you have a leak in your yard, as I have many times, you find out, when you get your $600 bill at the end of the month. Right.
Done that.
So the city is installing meters where you'll be notified at least within an hour or an hour or two. And not only are they doing that, but they're also giving rebates. I think that's coming up soon. These little house meters that you can buy, and it's like, I think they'll probably give you $50, and it's 50 more bucks, and you put it on, and you have on your iPhone instant notifications for leaks. Leaks are a large part of our outdoor water loss. So,
well, everybody's drip system leaks. They just do, right?
It's crazy. I know. So that's, we're looking, I have scheduled another exciting program. I'm very excited about water.
I know you're excited. It's great.
So the Scottsdale Water is using LiDAR and I think maybe drones, and they're helping HOAs and other large landowners identify where they can reduce, like grass and medians. Nobody's playing there. Where they can reduce a whole lot of water usage, save money, and save water.
That's really cool. So they go to natural landscaping instead of having grass where nobody's touching it or using it.
But have the grass where kids play.
Sure.
But this will allow, and we do water audits for people to help people reduce their water usage. So we're not asking people to, go to rocks and never have fun.
Right.
We're making sure that everybody has the ability to use the least amount of water and have the best quality.
So, if we want water, it's some responsibility everybody needs to take, right? You got to chill it out a little bit. So tell me a little more about the general plan. What else is in there that maybe people want to know about, the changes or updates from the prior?
Yeah, there are a lot of updates, and of course anybody can contact me. There's 2 ways to look at it. You can look at just the general plan, or the city also has the comparison where you see what we changed.
That's cool. That makes it really easy.
Yeah, it makes it really nice. So we removed some developer incentives. There was infill incentive district that gave discounts for less than good development. That's gone.
So we're probably past that, right?
Yeah, we're past that.
Yeah, totally.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So that's gone. We passed the past general plan, recommended that the community be involved in the development process.
Sure.
This general plan requires it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really good. Let's think. We created 3 new land use categories that require a supermajority for a developer to get a change.
So a supermajority on the council.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you have an area that's designated as a tourism zoning category, tourism is really what pays a lot of our bills, and you want to build apartments, today that would be a 4 council person vote. In this general plan, it's a 5 council person vote. We require that new development create, again, public open
Sure.
space. We have created a heat mitigation section.
Mhm.
We've increased water conservation requirements. We added, we did a lot. Now
Yeah.
you are catching me off guard. I've been focused on the development
No, I
side.
totally get it. I mean, but
We,
sounds amazing.
tourism was added,
Yeah.
and we made, kind of re-emphasize the historical nature
Yeah.
of our downtown, so.
Yeah, and it kind of owns its own special designation at this point, right, for the downtown?
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, I love that, that's really cool.
We really point to us reworking that character area
Sure.
plan, so.
So what was really neat to me about this general plan was the amount of community outreach that you guys as a whole did. So tell us a little bit about that, because I mean, I know there's a whole bunch of stuff that went on as far as reaching out to the community,
Yeah.
getting input on it, which doesn't always happen in a lot of places, right? But it was
No.
kind of cool.
And it's not required.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
But we know that everything great that has ever happened in the city was when the community and the city council
Sure.
were aligned, and all 7 of us took that very seriously.
Right.
And I gotta tell you, it's a little exhausting.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
We were getting emails from residents like till the very end.
Yeah.
Where we would, we reviewed every single email.
Mhm.
We verified it, we would check with our attorneys, we would check with our planning department.
Sure.
We incorporated, I would say, almost all of the recommendations. There was a few that, maybe they were illegal.
Sure, sure. Yeah, of
like,
course, yeah.
make moratoriums on development. Well,
Right,
we can't
right.
do that. So, but we had first a member from each board and commission sat on a committee,
Mhm.
spent a year on Zoom, putting their recommendations in, and then the city council took over, working directly with the community, and that is the outcome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm really excited about it. It seems like a really solid plan and a good basis for it, and it's really cool to see. So moving on, I had so tell me a little bit about, you're constantly planting trees, which is really cool. Is that an initiative, or is it, because I know there was something like along the river where you're planting trees. Is there some kind of initiative going on
Well,
right now?
I'm doing a
tree
lot
planting?
with trees, but yeah, so that's part of the general plan. We
Okay.
added a tree canopy plan.
Mhm.
Last week we had, I think it was this week, we had a city council meeting where ASU brought forward direction on how we now implement.
Mhm.
They called it an urban forestry plan.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Sounds pretty cool.
Sweet. But in the meantime,
Yeah.
I've been planting trees.
I know. I love it. I love it. I see it all the time.
And we had just to give you an idea of how we really listen to our residents,
Mhm.
we had a DR hearing,
Mhm.
a design review board hearing, where the developer just needed to build a small stretch of road for 2 houses.
Sure.
The resident spoke in public comment and said, you're gonna cut down a bunch of trees if you do that. So I biked over there with the civil engineer for the developer and the resident, and we looked at the road, and with a little bend, we saved the trees.
Oh, that's cool.
We called the city, and it was approved within hours.
I love it. That's fantastic.
This
That's
is a
really cool.
city that works very hard with its
No, they do move quick for
constituents.
sure when they need to. It's great.
So,
Another thing, obviously this is a national topic, but,
Okay.
and I'm sure our plan addresses it in some ways. But obviously Scottsdale's reached that age where there's some infrastructure issues. So how do we address that going forward? I mean, not just from like parks and recs, but facilities, roads, the whole thing.
yeah, so we have renegotiated, it all boils down to, I always say, if tax dollars benefit taxpayers,
Mhm.
you can run a city much cheaper.
Sure.
So we have renegotiated a number of contracts in the city to make sure that that the taxpayers benefit.
Sure.
And for instance, we had many of our big tourism events had free parking.
Mhm.
We go ahead and let those guys pay us now for
Sure.
parking. So
Yeah.
that's what.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The city recently, last December, purchased some land at Westworld from the
Mhm.
state, but that's a tourism function.
Sure.
So I made sure so that means the general fund
Mhm.
shouldn't pay for that. The general
Sure.
fund is for you and me.
Right.
So the tourism fund
Oh, that's cool.
is going to pay the general fund back.
Right.
So the first thing is to make sure we have money by being fiscally conservative
Mhm.
and responsible. And then we have had a number of audits because when I was elected, we had some bridges that
Sure.
almost fell down. And so we have some better scheduling, better oversight to
Mhm.
make sure that we are maintaining all of our infrastructure.
Sure.
at the same time, we're looking at that infrastructure and saying, okay, we have to renovate this building, let's make it energy efficient, put solar on top.
Sure.
And so I think we're really tightening up our processes because, you know, whether it's your city, your car,
Right.
yourself, getting older is never cheap.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So
Exactly.
we're-
Hello. Yeah, totally.
So, but I feel very, you know, we've had some really good audits and our departments are really tightening in and.
Sure. So tell me a little bit, we'll go to, I mean, we only got a few minutes left, but
Okay.
what's your single biggest hurdle that you're dealing with right now as a city council member, and what do you see coming out of it?
Okay, my biggest hurdle is making sure that our residents vote yes on a general plan 2035. Because if people are upset about the urbanization, the taller buildings, if they don't want light rail, this general plan excludes light rail and points us in a direction of the Scottsdale that I think many
Sure.
of us consider
Envision and see.
envision.
Yeah.
So my biggest hurdle is overcoming a negative campaign by an outside group
Yeah.
that says your taxes are going to be higher and your property rights will be taken away. That simply is false.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest challenge. You know, please help me.
Here
Help me
we
help
go.
all of us.
Yeah. So it's November 7th, right?
Yeah, but
So
the
there's a
ballots.
mail-in ballot, so.
Yeah, you have to mail them in early, and I don't know
Right.
the date.
Yeah.
Get the ballot, vote yes, sign it, seal it, get it in the mail.
So I haven't seen my ballot yet. Is there anything else on ballot this year? Is it just
That's
the general
it.
plan?
One yes,
Yeah.
and we
you're
move
done.
forward.
I love it. So that's Solange Whitehead from our Scottsdale City Council. We love her. Thank you as always for coming out and hanging
thank
out with
you.
us. Anything else you want to cover or throw
No,
out there?
just reach out to me if there's
Sure.
something that needs to be done. Our staff really will get it done.
Cool. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.